from their encounters with races from other planets. The information is the activation. Let's awaken this world together. We are the forever students, and we will not be silent. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. Pretty well. All right. Welcome, everybody, to Full Spectrum Universe. My name is Rob Yox. We are the Embattled Broadcast in the great state of New York. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Tonight, we have an incredible episode lined up and ready to go. It is called Spiritual Coherence. And if you're not familiar with what spiritual coherence is, I will let you know when the time comes what we're going to be talking about. But there's a few things I want to go over very, very quickly before we get into that. First off, we still have tickets available for the Energetic Workshop. They're going fast. There's only 250 spots. I don't know exactly how many are left open, but they are selling. Let me tell you, it is absolutely incredible. We're going to be coming together. We're going to be doing practicality. We're going to be doing PDFs. We're going to be doing charts. We're going to go over everything. We're going to dive in. It's going to be absolutely epic. So I see, Auric is here. Nancy's here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Everybody's starting to pile in and funnel in. I see Sugar Bee is here. The Andromedan is here. Jay Zen is here. So spiritual coherence is something we're going to be talking about tonight. There's a couple things I want to go over first before we even get to the main topic at hand, right? So let me just scratch my head real quick, fix my hat. Here we go. Anyway, I had a long day at work today, but there was a lot of things that I was thinking about while I was at work today. And these are things that need to be said and they need to be reaffirmed over and over and over. So my opening salvo is going to be a little bit about these things. And one of the things that we always look for when we're out there or out and about is we try and bring information to everybody, right? But we have to understand that this information is relevant to who resonates with it, right? There is no one set path to awakening or ascension. Everybody's path varies and it's different. Now, when you start to go through this sort of awakening process or this ascension that we call it, coherence is a very, very big part of it. It's actually probably one of the first steps that you go through, right? And that's how we're going to kind of go over and kind of bring it back to ourselves to keep that in the forefront. But there's a lot of toughness that comes along with this awakening and an ascension. There is a lot of detachment from others. What's going on, Ronnie? Good to see you. Susan is here as well. There's a lot of detachment. There is a lot of individual time, which can be a lot different from what you were previously used to. Legit is here. How you doing, Legit? There's also a lot of people who start to look at you a bit differently because they're not on that same sort of awakening as you are, and it becomes something different, right? So when there's moments where it becomes difficult, it becomes painful, it becomes very anxious, you become very anxious because you're starting to see it under veils and into new things. We need to take a moment and breathe and sit in that space. And a lot of people will tell you you don't need to sit in that space, but you do because that space, they say iron sharpens iron, right? And this is where we get to really sharpen our iron is in this space. We start to feel some of these emotions. And when we start to feel these emotions, we then tailor our response to these emotions. And that is part of what we're talking about tonight. And it truly becomes this new shift in yourself that changes your perspective on these new instances and these new sort of tactics, I guess is the best way to say it, to dealing and handling with these emotions because these emotions can be very unsettling, especially for those people who went down the information path and sort of, you know, it wasn't just that everything's really great and I'm starting to see more things. It's you basically start to see all the levels of deception and it can be a very dark place, right? it could be a very, very dark place when you start to see past those deceptions and those programs. So we have to sit in those moments and really first have gratitude because you were able to see into that aspect of life, but also to evaluate how those emotions come to be. And at that point is where you start to deconstruct the program, right? These programs that that basically are instilled in us since the very, very beginning of time, or our time on this physical plane of existence. This time around, right? Not saying anything about reincarnation or anything like that, but this specific time. And these can be cultural, these can be financial, these can be societal. There's so many various inputs that essentially structure what we believe life is. So tonight I didn't put a presentation together. I'm going to kind of do a lecture style because coherence is something that needs to be talked about interactively. And we're going to be going back and forth with the audience and everybody out there listening. And uh, uh, I think that the community will benefit from this because it's going to really show how far we've come and how tremendous this community has become and how much we dive into this structure that we're setting up for ourselves. So, you know, we have to understand that. And the other thing I kind of wanted to point out before we get into the actual topic is we don't need gurus, right? There's a lot of gurus out there, a lot of people, because no one path is the same. We have to look inside. Everything you need is inside. And when you're not aware of what's happening inside, there will be others around you that your internal will sort of focus through them to point out an awareness of something. And this is the universe teaching us. And this is one of the most genuine aspects and one of the most jovial aspects is letting that energy flow through others and sort of come to us, right? And see how that plays out. So, just a few things I wanted to touch on because we talk about a lot of things. And one of the things we're also going to be doing is in this workshop that we put together is sort of deconstructing this program and going into the quantum energy or the quantifiable energy and energy fields. We're also going to be deconstructing this reality matrix and give the ability to heal within that reality matrix or heal the reality matrix itself, as well as use quantum healing techniques. There's going to be PDFs, charts. We're going to really break it down and we're going to sit in that space and we're going to resonate with it. I promise you, there's a lot of work that has gone into this and it's going to be nothing but utter love and abundance. I promise you. And it's going to be such an amazing moment when we're able to clear these fields and really tap into the energy that's within us. And that's what we're trying to do is we're trying to deconstruct those programs to find that energy center that resides right in the center of us. And our chakras are a part of it. There's a lot that goes into it. So we're going to use the energetic workshops to deconstruct the walls around us to open up the greater universe for us, right? So let's get into what coherence is. And coherence, and again, the Eventbrite is in the description of this, so you can get your tickets in a description by using promo code Forever Student, all one word. You will get 10% off the ticket price. We also have, like I said, there's only 250 tickets. They're going, so I don't want anybody to miss out if they're really wanting to take part in this. So let's get into business. Also, I'm going to be dropping the link into the chat very quickly. So if you would like to get your ticket now, you can, and it's right here. There it is. That is the event, uh, Event Bright, right? I was going to think that's the event. That's the energetic workshop, the Event Bright. So let's talk about what coherence is, and we're going to start with saying that this planet is ascending into a higher frequency. And these are higher frequencies of plasma, right? And we all know what plasma means here. This is the electromagnetic systems made from the groupings of particles, which exhibit an overall zero net charge in its collective result. So that's what we say, you know. And plasma also can be described as ionized gas existing within a electrically neutral medium or in groups of unbound positive and negative particles, right? So the higher frequencies of plasma, which greatly impact the principles of coherence, is a necessary energetic principle to understand on the ascension path. And as we progress towards this personal consciousness expansion, we will see coherence play a major role in that. Now, there is partial of this goes into the natural law, which we've gone over. And natural law is how the universe works around us, right? So we're going to get into a little bit of that. And that's the principle of coherence, which is actually a universal law, not a natural law. I keep saying natural law, but I'm wanting to say universal law. I apologize. It is a universal law. So, what is this coherence, right? Well, when we dismantle the old enslavement profiles from this societal controller, right? Each of us must make an effort to explore these new models of spiritually beneficial behavior, focusing on those humanitarian traits that support individual and collective growth to help evolve spiritual advancement. And as we undergo successive levels of bifurcation, which of course is the split, right? We know what bifurcation is. It is the means the splitting of the main body into two parts, and the mathematical study of change that occurs within a structure or space. Bifurcation occurs when a parameter changes or causes a different stability of the whole equilibrium, right? To give it a little bit of a definition. I see Lion is here. Sugar is back. Sugar Bee, how are you? Long time no see. So what we're doing is this is the point where the this decision framework comes in for each person. And people make decisions based upon the kind of motivations, thoughts, and actions they have as general thought forms influencing their lifestyle. This is what we're talking about, right? So, the higher quality of overall energy made available to a person, place, or thing, the more stable and connected the person and the environmental experiences in that area become. Energetic stability increases harmonization within the overall energy available, and this contributes to the increased coherence. As personal coherence increases, this increases the quality of energy that supports the higher functioning of the mind, emotions, and body. When coherence is present in the mind, emotions, and body, it supports spiritual links that connect us to our higher spiritual consciousness. So that's why this is important. This is the beginnings, like I said, of ascension. This is where we start to get into our higher consciousness state and our higher consciousness thinking. It breeds a new sort of personality for us. And this is why this is important too, because when we get into this shift of personality or shift in who we think we are, or we know what we are, we tend, and happens to a lot of people. It happened to me for a moment. I tried to correct it very quickly, but there is a certain confidence that can be borderline cocky. So this is something that we have to watch out for. And using coherence, that doesn't happen like that. It kind of keeps us at that medium observer sort of point of view. Now, the reason that happens is because you start to collect this information. And when you collect this information, you start to think that you know better than others. And when I say it was sort of a cockiness, it wasn't me going out like I'm better than you. It was sort of me saying, well, that's not truly the full story. And I know the full story. So let me tell you. And a lot of people at times would be like, well, that's not my story. And I don't agree with that. And I would be taken back from it. And I'd be like, well, I think that this is what it is. But then I had to come to the understanding that everybody's path is different. And that's why I kind of said it in the beginning of the show to kind of bring it back full circle a little bit, because when we understand that everybody's path is different, certain situations come down to perspective, and that perspective becomes what we see and hear from others as well as ourselves. So to be encapsulating all of that within the love frequency and to understand that everybody's perspective is different, yet we could still be saying the same things. It's just their way of expressing and the point of view it is. This is where we start to get to that observer space and not the judgmental space. And I, for one, was like, well, I'm going to tell you what I think it is, right? Like I was that guy for a little while. And I'm not ashamed to say that it was part of my process. It was part of me working through my process. So, and every now and again, I have to kind of pull it back because I read and study so much of this stuff that sometimes I don't think of myself as the expert in it, but I think that I have an explanation for what's being said when people sometimes don't want that explanation, and I have to be cognizant of that too. We all have our faults, and I'm sort of being vulnerable here and showing mine, but at the same time, this is how we learn, right? Everybody's path is different, so I'm expressing my path, so hopefully it helps others in their path, and that's giving back and, such as the ebbs and flow of energy. So let us keep going now. And so we're going to talk about lower the lower the quality of this overall energy available to a person, place or thing, the more unstable, disconnected and chaotic the personal and environmental experiences in that area become. I'm going to say that again because that is one of the most important lines. The lower the quality of overall energy available to a person, place, or thing, the more unstable, disconnected, and chaotic the personal and environmental experiences in that area become. Energetic instability that is created from the loss of energy, as well as the inability to access higher frequency, contributes to the downward spiral of energetic incoherence, right? Which is the opposite of coherence, is incoherence. And the functions of human thinking, human emotion and behavior, as well as the overall functioning of the physical body, will lose coherence when the frequency operating in that person is too low. So, as a result of all these areas of collective human behavior, we're increasingly losing cohesion or coherence on the earth when they are not capable of shifting into that higher frequency pattern. Now, this is why I personally always say we have to give this information out. We have to share this information because that bubble of the unawakened people can cause incoherence, right? Which doesn't give us our full access to coherency for the entire planet. The entire planet has it's an individual coherence and a planetary coherence. So we have to understand that there is a collective consciousness that affects everybody. So we want to keep that frequency raised. So everybody has the ability to kind of go into that mode, right? So, as a result of all of the areas of collective human behavior are increasingly losing coherence on Earth when they are not capable of shifting into the higher frequency patterns. So, if we refuse to change negative ego behaviors or addressing personal emotional conflicts, these mental and emotional blockages will persist. If intense emotional conflicts are not corrected, they produce energy blockages, which further block access to the higher frequency and the higher consciousness. Now, we're seeing a lot of this right now, right now. And they're using their propaganda tactics to make people feel that fear and that unresolved issues that keep coming and keep piling up. This is their energetic sort of attack on all of humanity. And we know that. And we know that. And I'm going to give you a little bit of an example too. We talked about um, what happened in Ohio with the derailment of the train. And then we talked about the environmentalists that were going to actually report on the status of the ground and water and what happened to them. Now, when we start to peel back these layers of deception, there's a lot of people who are in Ohio that something bad has happened, but what is supposed to happen may not be as far reaching as they believe it to be, which, you know, is a good thing. But here's the thing, right? They also said that after they've used this fire to evacuate some of those chemicals, they went into the atmosphere. And when that happens now, the whole East Coast was supposed to be getting acid rain or contact with that chemical. What if, and I'm going to proposition this in a very, very tactful way because I can't say certain things here, you know, that's another great thing about the workshop is it's completely uncensored, so we could talk about whatever, whenever, and all of that. What if they're using this specific uh, tactic of fear to basically cover up something that they were doing to people across the entirety of the United States over the last 2 years, telling you that if you didn't have it, you couldn't get a job, telling you that if you didn't have it, you couldn't, go into certain places. What if this poisoning of these rain clouds is sort of their cover up for the death and destruction that they've caused already? And now they're adding a psychological sort of aspect to it, and it's this mode of low energy, and they're staying and keeping us in that propagated low energy, right? And this is why, I can't say certain things, so I'm hoping you're putting those pieces together here and understanding what I mean. But what if they're facilitating a scapegoat for something that was implemented and we now know is really bad for you, right? What if? But this is their game. This is their mentality. This is how they play. And this is why we have to understand it. And this is why we have to know what coherence is because we have to alleviate ourselves of that negative pressure, right? Or that negative energetic pressure because they're going to try and they're going to keep trying. And what happens is once we get into coherence with ourselves and everything around us, what happens? All of that negativity or negative energy bounces off. But here's our duty as well. We have to awaken those so they have the same outcomes that we do in the sense of of that energy, so that their exterior is protected the same way ours is, and that energy doesn't grip them that way. This is why this is important. So let's keep going, right? When the extreme polarities present in the environment produce a mixture of coherent and incoherent energy fields, these combined forces will reach their highest peak of opposition. And when this happens, an energy split occurs. This event is called the point of divergence, which is when the fixed point of equilibrium in the energy field reaches maximum pressure and a bifurcation or frequency split transpires. Now, we've all experienced this. I'm pretty sure of it, right? We experienced this, especially when we were talking about December 22nd, when the bifurcation of the timelines, right? We have that negative swirling timeline that is around us, but not affecting us. But we also have the love timeline or the 5D New Earth that was on the opposite side of that. And these two fields were budding for 3 years, right? Until we came to that December 22nd where the bifurcation happens. So there's a lot of examples we can use while going through this about these energies, right? So as we keep going, this energy, these two opposing energy fields, they split, and that's what we know. And this is the result of the equilibrium pressure that exerts force in between two opposing energy fields, one coherent in the field or a coherent field, the other an incoherent field, which cease to be able to coexist in the same time and space, just like I just said, right? With the divergence of timelines. The point of divergence that splits these energies apart acts to harmonize these energies to become more naturally synchronized to the frequency level and to which they are best matched or more compatible to. When the synchronization of these new groupings of energy occur, they align themselves to their vibrationally matched timelines, as well as they are matched to the probable outcomes in that timeline that are connected to that specific overall frequency. Synchronization is how our spirit intelligence aligns us to the best timelines. In order to support our continual journey of spiritual evolution, so we can learn how to become more energetically coherent, right? And this is what we're doing in the workshop. We're becoming more energetically coherent. I'm going to try. It's up to you. All of it resides within you. I'm just going to be a facilitator and bring you information. That's my job. That's what we do here. It's up to you to implement that information and how it's going to work for you. That's up for you to decide. So, as we keep going here, many of us are observing these patterns of bifurcation or this splitting apart and the synchronization of the energy fields based on personal resonance that either create increased coherence or a lack of coherence. This occurs during the ascension cycle and impacts everyone and everything. Most people do not understand the principle of energetic coherence. Hence, this information serves the purpose to help better understand that coherence or lack thereof is the result of the present bifurcation occurring in the energies in Earth and is greatly impacting the human behavior across the planet. This is why we see some people who reside and resonate within that love and abundance. And then we see others who look as if they've gone mad and are hateful. This is the extremes, right? People who walk around all day and mutter to themselves, this is crap, this is all BS. You're going to resonate within that, right? And that's going to pull you towards that side of the bifurcation. We have to be cognizant of our thoughts and our programs at all times. Now, there's going to be moments where, you know, sometimes they bubble up, but it's what happens after they bubble up and how we interact with it and control it to bring it back down and bring us back to the right side of the frequency spectrum, right? This is what we have to do. This is part of becoming an awakened soul or consciousness on this planet. We're going to be the pioneers of this new future. To do so, we have to lead by example, right? And this is why we're doing this. And I see somebody bringing up East Palestine in the Common Sense. What's going on? Common Sense and Gray Noises here, September 26th. Did you know that Ohio is the first place that's passed a bill on a 15-minute city? We've talked about 15-minute cities. Isn't that kind of unusual? And how there's no such thing as coincidence? Pretty crazy, right? Pretty crazy. These 15-minute cities are no joke and they are evil. They are evil, evil, evil. So, the next point we're going to be going over is the principles of coherence in the universal law, right? This is where we talk about the law of one and all of the universal laws that basically adapt this energetic frequency, right? So, one word we're going to be using is entropy. And this is defined as a loss of energy in human systems and makes the tendency of that system to become increasingly disorganized and less efficient due to gradual energy loss within that system, right? So, this is what entropy means. We're going to be using this word a lot throughout this section. I wanted to make sure that we had a clear and concise definition as we keep going. So, coherence is the main principle used to describe the synchronistic harmonizing of energetic properties that occur naturally within all living systems to support the integration of that grouping of energy. The properties of coherence are the result of universal laws, which apply to all systems of living things. And in the human system, this impacts all of the functioning parts, thus impacting the functions of the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual layers. Therefore, if we truly follow the practices of the universal laws and practicing the guidelines of the law of one, the eventual result of that practice will be the energetic coherence. And if we lose coherence with one of our four body system levels, right, it will affect all other links in the interconnected chain. And this will be experienced as a lack of coherence, which generates an energetic drain or blockage in the system. A system is coherent when each of its working components is beneficial, which is supporting the growth or function of the entire system. A system lacks coherence when one or more of its working components has a detrimental effect, right? Which blocks the growth or the function of the entire system. Now, I apologize to the people who are easily, I guess, you know, their focus goes because I talk a lot with my hands. I know usually the screens are up for the presentation, but I feel myself going like this and doing this, and I keep doing it, and I'm like, wow, this is actually me when I'm reading something from behind the presentation board, right? So my hands are moving a lot, and I apologize, but it's that's how I am. I'm Italian. It's how it goes. You know, we talk a lot with our hands. So all right, let's keep going. So, in order to understand the natural movement of energy, frequency, and consciousness, we will need to be able to define and discern when coherence is present or when a lack of coherence is present. Also called fragmentation, right? So, the lack of coherence is what contributes to producing a state of entropy, which manifests as blockages within all interconnected systems of energy. Entropy, or the loss of energy, is what makes a system break down and fall apart. Entropy is what instigates chaos and destruction. Now, again, entropy is defined as a loss of energy in the human systems and makes tendency of that system to become increasingly disorganized and less efficient due to gradual energy loss within that system. So basically, what we're saying here is when we start to have disorganized thoughts or disorganized energy or unintentional energy all over the place, entropy is what happens. It becomes disorganized. And now it's hard for us to center ourselves and get to that observer standpoint where we can negotiate with the spiritual realm or astral project or all of those things, all of the above, right? So we have to be cognizant of the energy. We have to understand how the ebbs and flows of that energy work so that we can be in control of our own energy. And this is part of the awakening process is gaining access or an awareness of the energy and then controlling it. Does that make sense? I hope it does because this is a big part, right? So where the system functions far less efficient when entropy instigates chaos and destruction. When a person lacks coherence, they are unequipped to perceive accurately the larger picture. They perceive only what they want to see, and this contributes to the self deception or splitting behaviors, the bifurcation style behaviors. So, at this time of bifurcation, the unpleasant state of splitting behaviors caused from a lack of energetic coherence in the unhealed negative ego will be increasingly observed within people, things, and organizations. It is critical not to feed or promote any kind of anger, aggression, or violence, as this behavior contributes directly to splitting and fragmenting and a lack of energetic coherence. If this inner violence is not corrected through um, basically attunable healing, it is the definition of generating self induced mental states of hell filled with obsessions, delusions, paranoia, and insanity. So, this is why transmutation is a big part of it. And that's what we're going to be working on coming down the line as well. We're going to do a little bit on the show itself. We're also going to be doing some in the workshop as well, because transmutation is one of the biggest factors, because it's going to keep coming. You know, it's going to keep coming. It's it's not going to stop right now, but that's okay. That's okay. That's part of the plan. The plan is for them not to stop at this moment, because what they're doing is they're pushing more people to the awakening. And the more people coming for the awakening and to the awakening, the more we'll be able to rein in the energetics of this planet and cleanse them fully and completely. And also, it gives us the ability to dictate our reality forward. We have everything we need right here inside. It's all about awareness of it and how to attune it or attain it and use it, right? And I do, yes, Mister said it right. He said, "We are on the right track, folks. Love yous." That's right. That's right. We are on the right track, all of us. Now, it may not be the same track, but it's definitely the right track, right? So, as we keep going, this is why coherence is important, because a lot of what happens is we get stuck right here in our own head terribly. All of us do. But it's how we get out of it and how we attune ourselves, right? And how we understand it and how we can manipulate it. And I hate saying the word manipulate, but it is a manipulation of energy, right? It's where we decide that energy is going to be fed into, right? Or which energy center. There's the negative energy center or the right energy center. Or not the right, the light energy center, right? So we can give into the darkness or we can give into the light. I'll give it to the light every time. But we have to be cognizant of how it's going and how it's maneuvering and how it's working. And that gives us the ability to choose free will, the epitome of free will, right? Now, of course, there's going to be some who don't want to reside on the right side or on the light side. I keep saying the right side because I'm reading the chat as well. The light side, right? But that's okay. They can be whoever they want to be. That's all right. Just know that they won't have any presence around us and that they'll be stuck within that negativity somewhere else, hopefully. And if not, then we'll put up with them as well, and we'll try our best to help them, because that's who we are and that's what we do. That's living in the shade of love, right? We're always within the shade of love, or in the light of love, the sun of love. We have to help everybody. There's no man left behind or woman, none. It was there's and that's part of the awakening process too. And there's certain points in the awakening process where we say, you know what, we're just gonna help those who are seeking it, and that's it. That's it. No, no. This is why we're still here on YouTube. This is why we haven't transferred to some other platform so far, because I'm always going to have one foot in the matrix and one foot out, because I need to be able to jump into the matrix to pull people out. It's part of my job, it's part of my mission, part of who I am. And my archive is the other aspect of how we pull them out. By using the information in my archive, I reach my hand into the matrix and pull them out. And they disconnect like Neo does in the matrix. And then he actually sees what it looks like. And sometimes it can be jarring when they see what it looks like again, because it's not what they think it to be. And that destabilization of their reality can cause people to kind of go off the deep end for a moment. But if they rein it back a little bit, and which they almost always do, they start to see that even though it may look somewhat crazy out there, they are nothing but magnificent right? And they're nothing but just truly beaming with that light. And that's what makes them exceptionally happy because they know who they are, they know what they are, and they know what they want to do. No, that's it. That's all of it. That's the like the one of the big questions is like, what do we do now, right? What now? Just keep doing whatever you think you should be doing because that's going to make the change. Great noise. The hokey pokey. Yeah, you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about, right? So, as we keep going, thus, the natural goal of living energy or system is to support the strengthening of coherence within all of its subsystems, as this is important in sustaining the energetic support to the overall system to ensure its survival and sanity. Sanity in this context is used to describe spiritually beneficial behaviors that support more energy becoming available for consciousness growth. The principles of coherence apply to us personally, collectively, and in every group, system, or organization on this planet. To build the energetic coherence within the systems required a group consciousness agreement, right? This is what we kind of signed into. And to support the goal of building these related positive qualities and spiritually beneficial energies that help further define and support the overall system. These many different links of energetic correspondence interconnect through principles of coherence to help unify all systems of energy, thus integrating and unifying energy within multiple groupings and layers of energetic fields described the state of coherence. The state of being coherent is formed by unifying the sum of the parts to be united so they may form a synthesized whole. Coherence directly responds to the process of leaving behind individualistic expressions of ego while moving towards expressing group consciousness or unity consciousness. Now, one thing I want to point out while we reside within this collective consciousness, right? And how great that is, there is still an individualistic aspect to who we are. So basically saying that we don't have to give up exactly all of who we are to be a part of this great collective. And don't let anybody ever tell you different than that. You need to be cherished for your individuality, your artistic expressions, whatever it may be, whether it's speaking, singing, whatever makes you happy or smile. The individual should be um, celebrated as much as the collective. Now, what we're doing here is coherence. We are a collective, we are a community. We are implementing our energy to create a positive change for the earth and the realities around us. We come together all the time to fluctuate the energy fields, to strip away that negative and that ego, and support each other and love each other. And this is the paramount of who we are. It is our mission, right? This is what we do. This is how we do it. And we've kind of come into a coherent agreement here in this channel, right? We come in, we talk to each other, we support each other. We never down anybody's ideas. We always go and support everybody else's ideas. We explore everything. We try and understand. We create awareness for some of those spots within ourselves that have yet to be revealed to some people. This is the coherency of the community. And we are the collective. Might I say, one of the greatest collectives. I don't care what anybody says. This is one of the greatest communities I've ever been a part of. And I have the absolute honor and privilege to be a part of this community. You know, this doesn't work without all of us. It doesn't. So we need to all be together. Susan, thank you so much. I appreciate that so much. All proceeds go right back into the broadcast so we can do more and bring more workshops and more avenues of communication. This is what we're doing. I also want to expand a little bit of what we're doing here. And I want to do that on Telegram and Clubhouse. Those are two applications. Now, you're going to say, I really don't want to go into these apps. Thank you again, Susan. Absolutely phenomenal. Thank you so much. You're the best, and these two platforms will give us an avenue to communicate more regularly and to explore all of these ideas that we want. Because I want to open large communication forums so we can all talk together. Because I understand having me up here and us going through the chat is it's fun. It's fun. But I want to hear some of the voices more out in the community resoundingly. And this is why we can even use things like Twitter Space. There's so many different ones we can use. But I bet you any amount of money, and I don't really want to bet money. I'm just making an expression here. But if we do that, the amount of people that will gravitate towards this community will triple and tenfold because they're going to hear people supporting each other, going to hear people in the love frequency, and everybody coming together to have amazing conversations. It is going to empower those people, and it's going to give them the avenues in which they can experience the awakening in the collective consciousness just like we do right now, right? So this is part of the next phase of what we are supposed to do. We're supposed to help these people and bring them in and really, really dig our heels in to this matrix and really rip it to pieces because it's dissolving all around us. Like I told you the other night in the Critical Mass show, this matrix, this reality matrix, is dissolving. This is why we have to cleanse the next one or the ones that are around us yet to come. Because there's a lot of people who, you know, there's a lot of people who are out there trying to get things done, and it's difficult because they don't have the avenues, right? And this is why we have to give them more avenues to do stuff like this. And I think that we could really make that change. But going back to critical mass, right? There's two budding realities that are coming in behind this dissolving reality. The dissolving reality is where the critical mass happens. Though it awakens those people who are seeing these deceptions play out. So what happens now? These two budding realities are that's a good reality and one that's a really bad reality. So we have to do our diligence to cleanse the really bad one so that there's just one unified reality. This is why the reality matrix cleansing or reality matrix healing is a function in deprogramming, but also a function in paving a path for a more positive future. This is why this is important. And the quantum field and the quantum energy field, or the quantum energy itself, plays a tremendous part in all of this. The interconnection, the interconnectivity of all three of the quantum energy field, and the reality matrix are so heavy. It's so heavy that's why we need 2 hours to explain it, but to also go over techniques. And it may even go over that. It may end up being 3 hours by the time we finish. But this is what we're working on. And remember, if you are going to buy a ticket, use the promo code Forever Student, one word, no space in Forever Student, for 10% off the ticket prices. That's what it is. And you're going to have a downloadable packet that you're going to get that we're going to use through Eventbrite to email to everybody, hopefully. If not, we'll set up a place so you can all download it with charts and PDFs that we're all going to go through together. But you're also going to be able to take it with you. Therefore, it's added to your archive, and your archive will be expanding from these moments too, right? So I hope to see everybody there. It's going to be really, really great. It's going to be really, really great. It really will be. So this is all I got tonight. I mean, that was pretty much all of it. I just thought that coherence was an important aspect of the awakening. And sometimes we get so far into what we're doing in this ascension process that we forget to go back to the beginning stages and kind of repeat them. And that actually doesn't bode well for productive growth, right? It kind of hinders us from going forward and keeps us a little bit more stagnant. And that's why I thought it was actually beneficial because what every time I do a show like something like this where we're talking about specific things, I myself am experiencing it. So what I do is I get the information, I talk about it, and then it helps me while I'm hopefully helping all of you. It's a win, win, win. And even if it's not something that I'm currently going through at that time, I have gone through it recently or maybe in the last few years. And I thought that it was something that we should curate some space for to bring awareness to it because it happens to a lot of people, right? So with all that being said, I hope everybody enjoyed this episode. Thank you again, Susan, and thank you for everybody who's purchased a ticket so far. Get your tickets soon because they are going fast. I'm not kidding here. It's there's only 250 slots available, and we've got 17,000 people subscribed to the channel. So it is a smaller gathering compared to all of the people on the channel. So I love you all. I hope this message finds you with love and abundance. Remember to radiate that love each and every day to everybody and anybody around you, and keep your eye out on the people around you. The universe speaks to you through those people, and it's a wonderful thing when you actually see it happening in front of you. So, with all that being said, my name's Rob Yox. This has been Full Spectrum Universe. I love you all. Thank you all so much, and I hope everybody has a tremendous and great rest of the evening. Thank you so much. Have a great night.